This lesson is part of Gibson's Learn and Master Guitar course. Before you get started, download the free lesson book at the following web address. Now, here's Gibson's Learn and Master Guitar author, Steve Krenz.
Hi and welcome to Session 9. Today we're going to talk about strumming and all the different ways to get the best sounds that you can out of your strums. You know, pretty much up to now we've just been doing simple chords and some eighth note strumming. Now we're going to get a little bit more complex with it, but it's also going to start making a little bit more music. Here's what I want to cover. We're going to learn proper strumming technique. I'm going to give you several simple strumming patterns. Strumming with eighth notes and ties. This is getting beyond just the techniques of strumming and starting to get a feel for it inside of you. This is what I wanted to get to in this session. Last thing is intervals. You know, in the How Music Works section, we're going to cover intervals. Intervals that are in the major scale and intervals that are not in the major scale, and mess around with those intervals a bit. Finally, we're going to learn some songs and put all the things that we've learned together to make some great music. All right, to get us started, let's talk about strumming. Now, up to this point, you have pretty much played one chord or one strum for each beat, or sometimes we'll just give a whole note in each measure that a chord is in. Well, now we're going to go a little bit further than that. Now we're going to talk about strumming. Well, what is strumming? Well, strumming is playing a rhythm while playing the chord. So instead of just playing a G, let's say I was playing a G, I'm going to add a little bit more rhythm to it. Now, by the time we get to the end of this session, you'll be able to do that rhythm because it is one of our simple patterns that we're going to learn today. So just adding some simple strumming to your chord playing helps you to start making music, and that's what this course is all about. So let's first start talking about technique. In our right hand, there's not much that needs to happen, but here are a couple key things you need to keep in mind. Have a good, strong, firm grip on our pick. Now, when you're strumming, you don't want that pick to be too loose, or you're going to kind of get a strumming sound that has a lot of pick noise in it. If I hold it too loose, I just get a lot of pick noise, a lot of flopping around of the sound of that pick. You need to hold it a little bit firmer than that. Next thing, keep your wrist loose. A lot of times folks will think, as we're getting through these exercises, that as we speed up, the tendency is to really tense up your hand, where you want to bring this wrist in and tense this whole forearm as I'm playing. So I start out good, but then as I play more and more, the motion is more like, if you want to think of it, the motion is more like you're flicking something off of your hand. Imagine if you had water or something on your hand and you're trying to flick that off of your hand. That's the motion when we're strumming. So I put my pick, and I'm holding my pick, but I'm still doing this flicking motion. Your wrist is loose. Still have to hold your pick, but your wrist is loose as you're doing that. Next thing, we want to make sure and keep a down and up arm motion. So let's talk about what your arm is doing. Your arm is like the piston in an engine. It's always going to be going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now in some of these examples, I'll be telling you different combinations. Whatever combination I tell you, it's always going to fit into the pattern of down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. I'm never going to tell you to do it up when you're in the cycle to do it down, or vice versa. Now, that may seem like you really have to think about all this as you get into it, but as you get into it and speed it up a little bit, you'll realize there's really no other way to do it than being consistent with the downs and ups. So your hand, let's say if I was playing a G, your hand is always going, or let me just do quarter notes. So if I'm giving you 3 or 4 quarter notes to play, 4 quarter notes, let's say on a G, down, 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 down. You'll notice there's still a silent up in what you're doing. Notice what your hand is doing. Even though I'm just doing downbeats, there's a silent up that my hand is doing. Okay, now we're going to start talking about making those ups into strums. And you're getting a little bit more complex with it. So, you ready for the secret of great strumming? Here's the secret right here. I'll say it probably a dozen times during the course of this session. The secret to great strumming is to keep your hand going. The temptation would be to make it stop, and that's going to make you sound choppy and uneven, and it's not going to work. If I don't keep my hand going through that process, it ends up sounding like this. And it gets all mixed up. Keep your hand going. Okay, so if I pick a rhythm, let's say, okay, I could play that rhythm using all downstrokes. But it sounds choppy and it sounds uneven, and I kind of lose some of the groove when I play it like that. I've got to go and use down and ups. Down, down, up, up, down. So keep that hand going. Keep that hand going. I could play the rhythm several different ways, but you've got to do it with your hands going down and up, or it's going to sound choppy.